right? So once I click on add a page, it's going to bring say add a page. So I have the option of adding a workspace, which is something like all of these ties that you can see here. So I have the option of adding the power apps, right? So those people that actually use power apps, they can develop a power apps, and then I can link it to um to this dashboard here. And I have the option of adding a website to it. Maybe I have a website where I have some information that I need for my daily activity. I can add that website, and you can see it here. So right now, I'm just gonna add the workspace, because workspaces are some like most of the things that people actually create to use on their application. I'm gonna call this dynamics space. Okay, so I'm going to save it. I'll click on OK. Now, I just created a workspace. Like I said before, a workspace is more like a tie. Right. I'm going to use an analogy of a suitcase. A workspace is more like a suitcase, but right now I just created a suitcase that has nothing to it, right? So the suitcase is definitely going to be empty because it's not holding anything right now. So it just called a dynamics workspace, right? So if you click into it, you're going to see that it doesn't have anything, but it's a workspace. It's an empty workspace, right? It's just like I said before. I used the analogy of a suitcase. It's empty, so there's nothing inside. It is expected. So I am going to go back. So remember, our objective is to create a workspace for the HR manager or the HR person there to be able to access whenever the person comes in. So I'm going to go here and I'll look for HR and I'll click on HR. So the question is, which part do we want? Do we want to maybe every day we work with the people, we work with people, and then we work with employee development. So we'll go into people and then we'll create a save view for that. Okay. So let's see. We have this one here. Okay. Let's see this one. Julian Focamber. Let's see. Okay. So this is not a very good space to add to it. Let me try to look for something else. Can't create a save view. I need to check for an area where I can be able to create a save view on Query Analytics link. Let me check for something else again. Let's go to learning. I'm coming. I need to create a save view for it. Just name management. Okay. So this HR is okay. So this is a very good this is a very good place to create a save view. Right? If you want to create a save view, you need something like this that has like a table. Right? So this table is actually good and a good example to create a save view. So let's say for instance, I want to be able to arrange this in a way that suits me. I want to make like the most important thing to me. Maybe I don't care about this position, so I want to take this position to somewhere else. I can move it here, and I want this department to be closer to here, and I will take the worker. Oh, come on, I got it. I'll take this worker to this part, and I want all of this to be closer to what I want. Right, the title, so the description to be here. Now, Immediately I made these changes. Immediately I made these changes. It's going to tell me. It's going to give me this asterisk sign here. It's telling me that I've made some changes, but I have not saved it. Right? I've not saved these changes that I already made. So what's going to happen that we need to save it so that every time we come here, we can save it and pin it as default so that every time we come here, we'll be able to access it, right? So I can just come here and click on that drop down. There was an arrow that I clicked here just now, and then I can now click on save as, and I can put the name of the view that I want. I can call it my Dynamics HR view, okay? So this is the question. It's asking you, do you want to pin as default view? What this means is that every time I click, I come to this place, the way I arrange this is the way I'm going to see it. Okay, I can say yes. And then it's asking you the legal entity access. So the legal entity is another name for company, right? Legal entity is a company in business terms. So it's asking me for the legal entity access. So what this means is that do you want it has three options here. So it's asking you this view that you've created, do you want all the companies to see this? Anybody that's in HR that click on this that have access to this, do you want them to see this, or you want only this current one, which is the USMF that we selected before, or you want to select some companies, right? Only some companies. If you want to select some companies, you can come down, click on the um and click on that. It's going to load and then to give you the options of the company you want. But most times, just select, or if you want anyone in HR that you assign this workspace to be able to view it, right? You can just click and save. Okay. So it's asking you, are you sure you want to make this view the default view on this page for all legal entities? That is what we said here, and yeah, we can accept that. Okay. So now it's already saved as dynamic HR view, right? But this is only a save view, right? It's a save view. So we need to do one final thing, and that one final thing is to come to the option here. We click on option, and then we need to add it to the workspace that we created before. And I'm going to click down there, and I will check for the name of the workspace that we created before. I'll just put DE there, and it's going to check for that name, and it's going to look for the name Dynamics. It's called Dynamics Workspace. So I'll click on that, and then it's asking me, do you want it to be a tile? Do you want it to be a list, or you want it to be a link? I want it to be a tile. So I can click on configure. It's gonna open this other part for me. So is he asking me, do you want to show the count, the number count? So what that means is that it's going to show me the total number of workers here. It's going to count it. Like if there are 10, it's going to show me that 10 on the side. And it's asking me for the size of the side. I can decide to choose anyone if I want it to be big, small. Mostly use it 2 by 2 so I can add to the workspace now. So workspaces are one of the things that you're going to be creating if you work like is most things that people create a lot on the application. One of the simple things, but people also create it as well. So you can now come here and see the our example. Once I click on the Dynamics workspace now, you're just gonna see that it will show me this. Now it's because it's still loading. So it's not telling me that I actually have 571 workers. So if I click on this tile, it's just gonna take me there immediately. So it's going to take me directly. Okay. So I can also decide to add any other thing that I want to add to it. I can say, okay, let me search for um maybe you use a lot of okay, you have jobs. Let me check for jobs and see how jobs will show up. Um so so you can see that we have different workers who have different type of jobs in the company. I can also decide to say, okay, let me add these okay, I would like to say something as well because I'm using a cloud hosted environment. Is a little bit kind of it takes a little bit time before it loads. Okay, so I can just say make a little bit of change here if I want. If I'm okay with it, I can go ahead with it. But if I just want to make a little bit of change so I can create a different view, right? I'll just make a little bit of change and I can now call this one dynamics. I save this as dynamics. Save this as dynamics. Dynamic job view. Okay. Okay. We'll go ahead and pin as default again for all, like what we did before for all the companies. And then I'm going to click on save. Okay. I'll click on save. So this is going to change from standard view to this name here. Okay. I didn't put high, but it's fine. So the next thing I'm going to do, click on the option, then I'm going to add it to the workspace. So I want it to be tiled as well. So I'm just going to click on save. So now this has been added to that workspace. Okay, so I need to go home and then look for the workspace. And so most times you might be looking for this workspace and you don't know where to find it. You can just press Control F and then type the name of the workspace, and it's going to show you, like it's going to put out for you a color to show that the workspace is here. So once you click into the workspace, it's going to show you the workspace that you just created. You can see that you have 571 workers with with 100 different job roles. Okay, so this is just the simplistic demo on how to create a workspace and also create split views. Let's see if we can move on to system administration activity. So I just want to show you the system administrator page. So this is the system administrator part. This part is actually that has to do with the configuration of the application. That has to do with a whole lot of things like email, like database, like bad jobs, like a whole lot of things that feature management, data management, users, and all of those things, goal assignments, like so many things that has to do with the application. This is the place where you have to do all those configuration and all those beautiful. Okay. Now, one of the things that you do as a system administrator, one of the basic things that you do is to create user and assign role to them. And one way to create user and assign role to them in the application is by first of all creating the user, or you import the user from the tenant. Okay. So if you look very well, you can see that we have Microsoft ID application. So you can integrate Microsoft ID, intra ID application. That what it simply means the application that are on Azure that you have in your tenant, you can integrate them and do some kind of integration and all of this, right? So let's go to user. Okay, so it's going to load, right? So it's going to show you the user this application right now. But bear in mind that we're using a demo. We're using a demo data, right? So all of these that you're seeing here, apart from me that created the application, all of these that you're seeing here are actually demo users, but you can use them to learn, right? So let's say I want to create a new user. What I have to do, since I'm already on this page here, what I have to do is to click on new, right? I'll click on new. It's going to load, and then I'll fill in this place. Now, this is how you create a user. You first of all give the user a user ID. You can call the user ID anything. Let's say I want to create a user called Richard, and I just want because the user's first name is Richards Okiemute. I'm going to say RO if I want, or I can just say anything I want, R1, anything. So it's just user ID, right? So I'm going to put my username, which is important, right? I'm going to put here. Then it's going to ask you the email address of the user. Now this is very technical. This is something that's not really technical, but this is something that you need to keep in mind, right? So once you're creating a user, it's going to ask you for the. Now I am going to create a user. It's my email address, which is called richards.okiemute@gmail.com, right? Okay. So if you look at it very well, gmail.com is the domain of where I have this account. Okay. So what I have to do, this part is asking me for the provider. So I need to append the domain name, the this email address to provider. So I'm going to put email from here. Okay, I'm going to put gmail.com there. So let me just show you what I'm doing. But create a file in file. Okay. So this is what you do on the job. You some of the things that you don't know, definitely have to check for it. I told everything right. You have to check for them. So you just always refer to your Microsoft documentation. Okay. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing so that you understand the reason why I actually added appended Gmail to form. Like I told you, you can import user if you want, or you can create a user from scratch. You can manually create user. Now, what I did was to go to user this, I added the ID, the username, and then the provider feed. Now, this provider feed falls into two parts. One is for the internal users, and one is for the external user. I'm going to explain. So, for the internal user, remember I told you about tenants, right? You have a tenant where you deploy the application, and so the tenant do you every internal user has, for instance, let's say dynamics.com is a tenant. That's the domain name of that tenant. So if a user is going to be rookie at dynamics.com, so that means rookie is an internal user of that tenant, right? So somebody that's, let's say, another company, let's say something like KPMG. So kpmg.com is a different tenant. Now, kpmg.com, a user from KPMG wants to maybe develop something dynamics.com, they will have to invite that external user into that dynamics.com tenants, right? So that the person will exist in the tenant before the person can be able to use the application. So that's why it falls into the internal user and the external or guest user. Okay. So you can see that you say that you will had to enter the tenant name after this. That's why I had a Gmail. I had a gmail.com there. Okay, so I'm just explaining what I did here so you get a picture of what I was trying to do. Okay, so that's why I did this here. So I can see that I enabled this user, meaning that this user can be able to the application. Now, after doing that, I might decide that okay, this user that I'm creating right now, I want to assign a role to the user, and I want this user to be, let's say, I want the user to be, um, oh, email address must be unique. Another user, okay, all right. So let me just go and fix that stuff. So he's telling me that this, I've already created the user with this. So let me just go fix that. Just a second. Um, come on. So I just want to fix that issue that's telling me about that another user already has that email address. Um, just okay. So okay, what I'll do now, I'll just delete it because I just want to do this fast. I'll delete it. I want to create. Let me create this new user. I just want to show you how. how to create a user, nothing more. Just gonna use my name. I'm gonna feed this in already, so this is already feed now. So I'm going to add the rule that I want. So I can decide that I want this user to be anything here. So based on the job role that the person that this Richard has, that's what I will assign to Richard. Okay, so I want Richard to be maybe a system admin because he's a technical guy. I can put system admin for Richard. So it's going to bring out system administrator, and then I'll click on the system administrator. I can add any extra role. I can add as much role as I want, right? So it depends on what the organization wants. Okay, so I can add system administrator to it, and then I save it. Okay. Now remember, I was telling you that this account needs to exist in the tenant, otherwise you cannot access this application. I've already created this user inside the application, but the question is, does this user exist in the tenant? So we need to find that. So how do we find that? I need to go to Azure Portal. I need to go to portal.azure.com because that is where we have Microsoft Entra ID, which is Azure Active Directory, the host. Um, Please, if you have any question, let me know. And if you maybe you drop a question in the chat because I'm not looking at the chat, you can also just call my attention to it as well. So this is the tenant where I deploy this application. This is the tenant where this application is connected to. Right. So if I click on the Entra ID, it's going to take me to it's going to take me to the Entra ID. So you're saying that Azure Active Directory is now Microsoft Entra ID. Just in case you're reading the documentation, you see Azure Active Directory is also referring to Microsoft Entra ID. So they're all the same thing. So I'm just going to click on the user here. And you can see that this user, let me check the email address. Okay,